Hey, what's up guys? Kool-Aid here. Welcome to another loadout video, and this is going to be a little bit different than my other loadout videos for a couple reasons. First, it is going to be NC only. I apologize to TRMVS players out there. Hopefully you still find this somewhat interesting, and maybe you have NC alternates that you like to play from time to time. And also, this loadout isn't going to be nearly as specific as my other loadouts. My other loadouts, I pretty much go over what you should have in every slot, what you should have equipped, what weapon, what sidearm, all that. This one is really just going to focus on the primary weapon, which, if you haven't guessed by now, are the Falcons. And that's why we're calling this loadout That's Not So Raven. A little bit of a play on a TV show that I don't think I've ever actually seen before. And the fact that I think most max loadouts, or the popular loadout for this type of max, is to go with the Ravens. But I actually do prefer the Falcons a little bit more. And I'll explain that first before we really get started. So one of the main reasons that people like the Ravens over the Falcons is that you can guide the trajectory of the rocket after you launch them. And for a lot of long-range vehicle sniping and typical things that you would do with this similar type loadout, that is very, very beneficial. But I want to think outside the box and use the Falcons, this loadout, in a more closer quarters type combat role. And I'm not necessarily talking infantry only, but you guys will see, and I'll explain this a little bit more as I go on. So the guidance factor isn't really that big of a deal when it comes to these two rocket launchers for me. What is a big deal, and the main reason why I like the Falcons over the Ravens, is because of that front-loaded damage. If you fire both at the same time and land both shots on an infantry, you can kill any infantry with one hit as long as they are not wearing flak armor, and that is very, very beneficial. Even though this is not typically known as an infantry killer, if you actually practice with these weapons, get skilled at being able to guide or use the trajectory of the dumbfire rocket and put it on a good path, these can be very, very deadly against anything in the game. But as I mentioned, the reason I'm doing this loadout is not just to do your typical anti-vehicle max Falcon loadout. Obviously, the loadout's going to be very similar because you don't have many options with the max. But the reason I'm doing this is to make, like I said, to think outside the box a little bit and use this in a different role. And I'll be honest, the other day when I pulled out a Falcon Max for the first time in months, probably the first time since the Falcons actually got buffed, so it's been a long time. I was doing it more just for fun, more for shits and giggles than anything. But I soon noticed that these actually can have another really, really good role in closer quarter combat type situations. And what I mean by that is not that they're going to replace your shotguns in close quarters. If you're in a huge infantry battle and that's all you're focused on, you're not going to want the Falcons, of course. But what the Falcons do offer is a great deal of versatility and a great deal of available support for a lot of different type battles. Just picture a tower fight, which you're going to see a couple of in these clips. You can now kill maxes very efficiently, even from range. You don't have to be anywhere near an enemy max to take them out or to push them back. It does take 5 of these to actually kill a max, but if they are damaged hardly at all, 2 fires of 2 rockets, so 4 rockets, will down a max, which, as slow as maxes move, it's not that hard to actually do that with these. I know with infantry, you're going to have to be a little more precise. With maxes, it's much easier. Also, one big thing that's in tower fights that you usually have to take out is those pesky turrets, either the anti-air turrets or the anti-vehicle turrets. And a lot of the times, they won't even expect you. If you're in the tower, they won't expect a max just to be launching rockets at them. You can take them out very efficiently and help your team in that way. Help your armor column or your air move up. It's just a very, very versatile tool that I think a lot of people overlook. They just automatically think anti-armor weapons, which is their main role. But like I said, you can use them in this more of a support role, more of a, I wouldn't say anti-infantry, but anti-max role is where they're really good. And they are also just a ton of fun to use. I know, like I've mentioned 10 times in this, and you guys already know, they aren't an anti-infantry weapon. But a lot of the fun that comes with this loadout for me is trying to take out infantry with them, trying to land that perfect shot with an infantry on the run, trying to get that perfect rocket trajectory. It's very, very satisfying, and I think it makes these Falcons have actually a really high skill cap. your aim is really going to be the deciding factor on whether or not you can actually use this loadout efficiently, or at least use this loadout in this type of role efficiently. So as far as the rest of the loadout, the ammo storage container for your ability slot is pretty much worthless. You get so many rockets to start off with the Falcons that you just don't need that. You can toss that right out the window. It basically comes down to charge or Aegis shield, and it really, between those two, depends on what you want to do. If you want to go full out support, the Aegis shield is probably the way to go. You can alternate between pushing maxes back with your Falcons and then switching to your Aegis shield to allow your infantry to move forward. Now, all the clips you're seeing, I am using charge, and mainly that's because I just haven't played around with the Aegis shield yet with this loadout. But charge to me is the ultimate save your ass ability for maxes, and that goes for pretty much any max loadout. You can never go wrong with charge, and that's why I'm using it for all these clips. Now I do have something a little bit more specific that I wanna try out. It's probably gonna fail miserably, but I want to take on a tank 1v1 alternating between Falcon shots and the Aegis shield. And if I do this, I will post it for you guys, but more than likely I will fail miserably and die a very gruesome max death. But my main choice here would be definitely charge. Again, unless you want to go full support, then the Aegis shield is always a good option as well. For the defensive slot, you can pretty much use all of these. They're all beneficial, but I almost always roll flak armor. That's because I'm more scared about burst damage, explosive damage than anything else. You know, you can see yourself getting whittled down by small arms fire, and I typically do not die to small arms fire, especially if I am using charge, because you see yourself dwindling down, you charge away to safety, and hopefully get repairs. But what you can't do all the time is account for burst damage. If a pesky light assault is sneaking up behind you, drop C4. If you don't have that flak armor on, you're toast, and there's not a lot you can do about it if you don't see him coming. So I do use flak armor most of the time. Now, where kinetic would be really useful is if you are in a supportive type role, again, where you're fighting with your team right alongside them, and you know if you do get taken down by C4, more than likely you have a medic there to revive you. But the reason you would want to go with kinetic in that circumstance is because it's just less stress on your engineers at that point, if you're mostly taking small arms fire, of course. Now, nanite auto repair, I only use that when I'm playing solo, and even then, if I know there's engineers around or if I'm getting repaired often, I won't use it, because ultimately, if you are using nanite auto repair, you are weaker than you could possibly be if you were wearing kinetic or flak armor. So really only in solo roles is that the way I usually go. But anyways, guys, that's all I have. There's not a lot to cover when it comes to max loadouts because they only have, you know, the 2 slots and then the weapon. And then even with these weapons, you can't really upgrade them at all. So I know this wasn't a typical loadout video. Mainly this was a video to make you think about going back to the Falcons maybe and use them in a different manner. Mostly because it's a lot of fun, but if used properly and if you're a good aim, it can actually be pretty efficient. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will talk to y'all later.